AI saves you time. It writes your emails, it answers your questions in seconds, it even thinks through problems with you. But here's what nobody's telling you. Every one of those shortcuts might be costing you something you can't see. In 2025, researchers at MIT put this to the test. They wired up people's brains while they wrote essays. One group using ChatGPT, one group using Google Search, one group using nothing but their own memory. The results were unsettling. The ChatGPT group showed dramatically weaker brain connectivity in the exact regions responsible for memory and original thought. Minutes after writing their own essay, most of them couldn't quote a single sentence from it. Researchers gave this effect a name: cognitive debt. And like any debt, it doesn't just disappear because you stop looking at the bill. So before we keep asking what AI can do for us, maybe it's time to ask a harder question. What is it quietly doing to us? Chapter 1. Cognitive offloading. Let's start with the most obvious cost, because you've probably already done it today. When was the last time you actually read a full article, start to finish? Or did you paste the link into ChatGPT and ask for the summary instead? This is called cognitive offloading, handing a mental task to a tool instead of doing it yourself. It's not new. Calculators offloaded arithmetic. GPS offloaded navigation. And here's the thing researchers already knew, even before AI. A study on London taxi drivers found that the ones who relied on memorized routes had a noticeably larger hippocampus, the brain's memory center, than drivers who leaned on GPS. The skill you stop using is the skill your brain stops investing in. AI just offloads a much bigger category of thinking, not just directions, reasoning, writing, problem solving, judgment. Used occasionally, offloading is efficient. Used constantly, it's outsourcing the exact muscle you needed to keep. Chapter 2. Reduced tolerance for mental effort. Here's the second cost, and it's sneakier, because it doesn't feel like a loss. It feels like impatience. When answers are always instant, difficult thinking starts to feel unbearable by comparison. Teachers and coding instructors have reported the same pattern again and again since 2023. Students and junior developers who used to sit with a hard problem for 30 minutes now feel almost physically frustrated within 30 seconds if the answer doesn't appear, because AI has trained their brain to expect it should. Think about the last time you were stuck on something small, a tricky email, a stubborn spreadsheet formula, a plot hole in something you were writing. Did you sit with it, or did you immediately open a chat window? There's nothing wrong with asking for help, but if every moment of friction gets outsourced, you never build the tolerance that turns hard thinking into a skill instead of a threat. Chapter 3. The illusion of understanding. This one has already humiliated some very smart people in public. In 2023, a New York lawyer named Stephen Schwartz submitted a legal brief written with the help of ChatGPT. It cited 6 court cases, complete with quotes and legal reasoning. There was one problem. None of those cases existed. ChatGPT had invented them, confidently, in fluent legal language. It wasn't a one-off embarrassment. Since then, courts across the US, the UK, and Canada have sanctioned dozens of lawyers for the exact same mistake, trusting a confident-sounding AI answer over actually verifying it. Psychologists have a name for the deeper pattern behind this, one that predates AI entirely: the illusion of explanatory depth. It's the gap between feeling like you understand something and actually being able to apply it under pressure. Reading a clear, well-written AI explanation creates real understanding-shaped confidence. But confidence isn't competence, and AI is exceptionally good at sounding certain, even when it's completely wrong. Chapter 4. Dependency on AI decisions. The fourth cost is quieter still, because it shows up in decisions so small you'd never think to question them. What to watch tonight? What to buy? How to word a text you're nervous about sending. Increasingly, AI is either making that call for you or heavily shaping it before you've consciously decided anything. Workplace surveys through 2024 and 2025 found a growing share of managers using AI to draft entire performance reviews for their teams, sometimes barely editing them before hitting send. Feedback meant to shape someone's career, partly outsourced to a language model that's never met that employee. The concern here was never that AI makes bad decisions. Often it doesn't. The concern is that decision-making is a muscle, and every choice you hand off is one more rep you didn't do. And then there's the cost that's hardest to measure, because it doesn't show up on a test. It shows up in your relationships. AI companion apps went from a niche curiosity to hundreds of millions of users in just a few years. People talk to them about their day, their anxieties, their loneliness, often because an AI is patient in a way that busy friends and family sometimes aren't. The US Surgeon General flagged loneliness as a public health crisis back in 2023, even before this wave of AI companionship took off. Researchers are now actively studying something more specific. What happens when the entity that's always available, always validating, and never gets tired of you isn't a person? Nobody has a final answer yet, but the early research is asking real questions about empathy, social skill, and whether time spent being perfectly understood by an AI makes it easier or harder to tolerate the beautiful mess of being understood by another human. Conclusion: what AI is actually costing us. Here's the thing worth remembering through all of this. The danger was never that AI becomes smarter than us overnight. The real danger is quieter than that. It's that we slowly stop using the abilities that make us distinctly human: curiosity, critical thinking, creativity, the willingness to sit with a hard problem, the patience to really listen to another person. AI isn't the villain here. Used well, it's one of the most powerful thinking tools we've ever built. But a tool only extends you if you're still doing the reaching. AI should extend our intelligence, not quietly replace our effort. So here's a genuine question for the comments. What's one thing you've noticed AI changing about the way you think, work, or connect with people? If this video made you think twice about your own AI habits, subscribe. Every week we break down the invisible forces shaping how we think, feel, and live, so you understand not just the world around you, but the mind within it.